A lot of people don't know that we started off this podcast while crying.
Oh, Jesus.
And so we're doing this thing again.
We just came back to Christ here at
And for one thing, why this tissue paper is over here in the shot, it's because we were wiping away our tears.
That's great. That's terrible.
Office has a lot of amenities.
No, it's funny. Being a clinician and like working like with a lot of like speech therapists and clinical therapists and all kinds of therapists, there's always tissues. And so like I have tissues in my car, I have tissues in my office, I have tissues everywhere I go. Just cry a lot.
You're very well prepared.
Yeah.
I just want to say, like anecdotal thing.
Okay.
I've met you maybe like a couple of years ago. I met you.
Yeah.
Your energy is just infectious. Like you're such an upbeat, positive personality, and you bring such a great, genuine energy to like any crowd, any friend gathering that we have. And so like people are just very genuinely like attracted to you because of your energy, and it's very infectious. And it's just every time like you were brought up like in our friends group, we always say like how much fun you are to be around.
Oh, that's good.
And so that is your calling card now.
Okay.
And I think that will forever be your calling card, that you are just a very upbeat, joyous personality, and you bring a lot of like positive energy to any group that you're a part of. And I'm not like that. Like I wish I could be, just infectiously upbeat, but I think it's been beaten out of me because I'm 40 years old. So.
What are you talking about? Oh my God, I want to beat it back into you.
And you can.
What are you talking about?
Practice martial arts and you can beat it back into you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Were you aware of this impression that people have of you?
Was I aware? No.
You were not?
No.
Really?
No.
Or
No.
people told you that, but you don't believe that about yourself?
I don't know. I just remember, okay, so this is when I started I always felt like I was very outgoing and very happy. But just in the household and how I was raised to be a little bit like more posh and more like put together. And like even now, sometimes I feel like my dad gets annoyed when like I laugh. Like he's told me, he's like, "Why are you laughing?" And I'm like, "Because it's funny." Because it's funny.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I had to like dial it down, and I felt like I had to like behave and be composed and be very like, "Oh yes, very nice." And so I was in a relationship, and it was a relationship. It wasn't neither bad nor good. I was in a relationship, but I felt a lot of my personality be toned down. And it wasn't until I came out of that relationship and started finding joy in like the simple things that I don't know. I just feel like I came back to myself. But it really became about finding joy in the simple things. And I think that sometimes you have to be without to know what it's like to be, I don't want to say like be with. But I remember growing up poor, like I get so happy like going to a coffee shop and being able to afford my coffee and enjoying it, and like I just get so much pleasure from like the warmth of the cup and like the smell and the taste and the company that I'm with, and like getting to enjoy laughing. Like I love laughing so much. It releases endorphins.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy like what a pleasurable conversation, or like what an amazing human, or like man, that was what an awesome brain. Like look at you and your wittiness. You are so funny and you're so smart. And like I enjoy people's presence. That it's not even so much about me, it's about like what's going on around me. And I'm like, look at that guy typing away in his typewriter. Like how cool is that? Like it just became about finding joy and not seeking it out. Like people give me joy.
That is great. You find joy in like in every little thing.
Yeah.
And that's a very positive attitude to have, because isn't like a lot of conversation has shifted towards like are you happy? And there are people out there like trying to seek out happiness actively, like but there's something to be said about like finding happiness in just the small things in life.
Yeah.
Like you're just out there, like seeing that guy outside the coffee shop that was just writing on a typewriter.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Like
Yeah.
he didn't have care in the world, and he was just typing away, clickety clack.
Yeah. And it was kind of cool because I'm like, oh, I've never actually heard that noise in like real life.
Yeah.
Like I've always seen that in a movie. I'm like, that's cool. So just finding that joy. I also took art classes. Like I love my parents. I will like say that I love my parents so deeply. I just think that they weren't the most understanding people for me growing up. But I'm also really glad that they pushed me towards things that like fueled my soul. But I remember having an art instructor, and her name is Miss Aguilera, and I hope she watches this, so she'll be like, I'm proud of you. But she said to find the beauty in everything.
Yeah.
And she said that there's even like beauty in suffering.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you can go to an art museum and I feel like you can see what that person was thinking or feeling based on the color usage or like, you know, what they painted. And I really relate life towards, like, life is art. And so I've been just sympathizing for people when they're going through a tough situation and being like, wow, like you are so strong and so beautiful because regardless of your situation, you're like overcoming, like you're not letting it keep you down. Like you are so beautiful and so strong. And so I just see people as art. Like every human that not every, like I've met some shitty people. Like,
We're not naming them, but
you're a shitty piece of art. For the most
name
part.
rhymes with brew.
That's funny.
Andrew.
Andrew, he's watching this. He's like, fuck guys. So yeah, I just see people and I see their imperfections too, and I also know that that's part of beauty.
Also talking about parents though, let me just tell you, I know my parents, you know, you can see like years later, decades later, things change and you can see the deficiencies in some of the things that they did, said or did.
Okay.
And it's so easy to look back on that and be like, oh wow, like I would do things differently.
You
like,
sucked.
Look at this, like you know, just to scar me for life, this thing. But you also have to come at it with some sort of an understanding that I know they love me unconditionally, and they were doing things what they think was in my best interest.
Yeah.
So they were doing the best that they can
with the resources,
with the knowledge and understanding that they had. So it just becomes easier to forgive them.
Yeah, and especially a new country. I think that's something that we both have in common. Is like, how do you live life again in a place that's kind of foreign to you?
Yes.
Language and bring up children.
Very true.
And I sympathize a lot for my parents because I see their struggle. And I also, like, now that I'm an adult, like I work with parents and I work with kids that are in similar situations, and I'm like, wow, I'm full circle, but now I'm the adult that has the knowledge and I have to help this family. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
I saw this firsthand just in myself because for 19 years I lived in another country. And I grew up in that culture and those norms and those mores. And when I came here for a number of years, I still held on to that. But after a while, growing up in another culture and talking to different people who have, you know, a much more broader horizons, I can look back on that and realize, oh wow, like I did not know. I just did not know, and now I understand what that means. Like I didn't know any better. Now I understand what that means. It's one of the best expression I heard about that was that for my first 19 years, I was kind of looking at the sky from the bottom of a well, thinking that the sky is really small. But when you come out of that and you're like, oh wow, look, it's just so much bigger, the horizons are so much broader and brighter, and so I just didn't know any better. And so I can see that in just in my mindset of like, wow, like I have changed so much in my understandings because I got exposed to different, a different country, different culture, different people, and so it just becomes easier to see where your parents were coming from and the way that you were brought up and why that was different.
As I'm speaking to you right now, I was thinking about that neuroplasticity of having that perspective And I think you have that of like living somewhere and having that be its own reality of like, wow, these are the norms here, this is how I'm supposed to act or behave, or this is what's acceptable, and then moving somewhere else and society, like that's like being different and being saying like, oh, I'm able to adapt. But I think that's so important because some people this is all they know is like this town that we live in, like, and that's what I want people to get out of this podcast is that, you know, moving away, meeting different people. I think each person that I meet is its own universe and like their own world. Like right now, I feel like I am in Midhat's world, and there's a lot of tech, there's a lot of nature, there's a lot of lights, there's like I'm seeing a lot of like the things you like to display, you know, like I'm in your world and I'm very happy by it. So that's the other thing is that sometimes I know that I'm limited by my resources, especially like right now as I'm trying to build something new. But the people that I am exposed to, like they are their own world, and I'm just like for this moment right now, this space right now.
You're exposed to my world, and you can see the 17 pictures of me without my shirt on the wall.
On the wall,
so
yeah.
I apologize.
Oh yeah, I know. We have to show off all the muscles. We're so proud of those.
But no, you're right. Like every person is their own universe, and when you talk to them, you just realize what makes them tick, and what are the values that are important to them.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just pure unbridled narcissism.
That's good. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that you would want to know, like how I thought I started the sentence. I thought I was gonna go somewhere with it, and I lost it.
I have a train of thought, and I'm like, I'm just kidding. I don't want to even pursue this thought. Like, no, I really do see my brain that way. I'm like, oh, that's a thought I don't want to explore. But no, like, tell us about where you grew up, where you're from. Like, I don't know.
So I grew up in Pakistan.
Okay, very cool.
And
never been. Would love to go.
Okay, great. You're the third person in the world who said that.
Okay. You're keeping track. See, like I'm evaluating that.
I'm just kidding.
Keeping tallies. Like
I had a very nice upbringing in Pakistan, actually.
Very nice. Okay.
We were from a lower middle class family. We didn't have a lot of resources. We didn't even have like a car that we would go. All my friends had cars. They had cell phones and stuff, and I didn't. But one thing my parents did that has held me in good stead, hopefully for the rest of my life, is that they spared no expenses in giving me some very good education. Like I went to some very decent educational institutions in Pakistan, like even in like early school and then in college and then in university, I went to some good institutions. And they would teach in English over there, so it's called like English medium schools. So they would teach in English, and so like you had to speak a lot of English, and then I would read a lot, and then I would watch a lot of like American TV. So like we would get a healthy slice of Americana over there, like, but many years later, like I grew up on cartoons like He-Man and G.I. Joe and the A-Team and stuff like that. Yeah. And so just through that, like talking and reading and listening to like American like programming, I just became well versed in English. And so I was very kind of surprised that when I came over here, and people would talk to me and they would be like, oh, because it sounds like your English is really good. It sounds like you've been talking English for your whole life, and so that's how I grew up, and I feel like I have just because of my circumstances, because I was 19 years in another country, and then I have like another 20 years over here. Like I think I've developed a good perspective on both Eastern living and then Western living as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know why that got me so teary-eyed. I wish you guys could see close-up. Just kidding. We don't have a cameraman behind me, so there is no close-up.
Wow. It's we've had so many tears in this podcast.
Yeah. I know. We have.
We could probably solve the water issues in Las Cruces.
Without tears. No, have you seen that? Like, have you seen people sell their bath water? I should just sell my tears. Be like Midhat's episode. Val's tears. There's enough to bring.
We should judge the success of each podcast episode by how much you cried.
Oh, really, guys, this one has to go viral. The tears, the tears.
But you're such a genuine person, right? It's just, I think that it's just, it comes across so naturally that you find joy in like all these different things, and so it's, and that's why, and you should always be like this. And,
oh my gosh, you should always cry. You should always cry.
I cry too, but mostly like when I wake up and see my reflection in the bathroom mirror. But yeah,
you're so beautiful. You're like, I sculpted that.
Yeah, shallow things make me cry.
You're like Anna Mart.
I used to have hair in this face and not anymore. Cry.
Dang. But you were saying some of the things. I don't know. I moved to the U.S. at age 9. I've actually moved back and forth between the U.S. and Mexico several times.
Wow.
So I was telling Midhat that I got diagnosed with ADHD a couple years ago, and I was telling him that it's basically a way you code your brain to think. Like it's a conditioned way of thinking. But I think that one of the reasons why your brain is always trying to protect itself.
Yeah.
And it's always trying to cope with stressful situations. And so I think I've always had, a very active imagination. And I think the way that I would cope through things was by reading. So the Harry Potter books, I just lit up my mind to create this visual world in my brain and just escape and go live in it. And I think that's a lot of it is humanity, we're just trying to escape and cope.
Yeah.
But you were talking about cartoons, and I remember I would watch a lot of cartoons too because I was trying to learn English, and it was just fun and animated and visually stimulating, and I would cope that way a lot too. And then sometimes even I didn't want to talk about myself or the things that I was living through. And it just became so much easier to talk to people and about the things that they were doing because I felt like their world was so much more interesting than mine. And so I think I've always been a very good listener for that.
You are?
That's girl. More tissue.
I'm sorry, I'll let you finish your thought.
So, yeah, I feel like it makes sense that I pursued psychology. I feel like it makes sense that I'm starting a podcast. You guys are like, oh yeah, she's really escaping her reality. She's talking to everybody but herself. No, guys, I'm going to therapy. Anyway, no, I feel like you said some of the things that I think there were parallels, and I was like, oh, I used to do that.
Yeah.
But I used to do that for these reasons.
Oh.
Yeah, so man, this is becoming a whole therapy session.
That is... I think you were a much more interesting subject.
No, I don't think so.
So you came to America when you were 9.
Yeah, officially that's when we moved here, and we're not leaving this time. We're moving here and we're staying here.
And why New Mexico?
Because we have family here. I think my parents saw it as a small town and good place to raise children. I think just the fact that we had family here was the big thing. Was should we ever need anything or someone.
I see.
Yeah. What did your family come here? Because you guys could have gone anywhere else. But
yeah.
I think about that too. I'm like, you guys chose Los Cruces. I love you guys. Love for my hometown. I love you guys.
It's just 7 people are going to be really happy when they hear this. So my family on my mom's side, they were mostly in many different parts of America and Canada.
Oh.
But we came to Las Cruces because my uncle was here in Las Cruces, and he has a very successful business here in town.
Okay.
So I kind of hit the ground running. I came here and I started working for him.
Oh, that's
and I did my MBA from NMSU.
Nice. That's
and
nice.
So it just all worked out really
well. It was very
well.
logical. It was very nice plan. Okay. That's
good. The transition was eased quite significantly because we had family over here. And so and then I started working for him, and he told me one of the best gas station clerk that he's ever had was not me, actually. I was on the bottom tier, but he did have a really great gas station clerk at some point.
Okay.
But it wasn't me. Also, so that's that's why I came to Las Cruces.
Okay.
Yes, and you know, I think it was I made lives better for at least for my family. Just coming to America has been a major boon to them, but not for the rest of the people in Las Cruces when I came here. I think lives for me and my family improved, but not for the rest of Las Cruces.
No,
yeah, because.
I mean, there must be a lot of ha-ha-has out there. I'm sure you made a lot of people.
A lot of ha-ha-has, but I hear a lot of like, ha-ha-ha, he's a terrible person.
Oh, seriously?
And yeah, so, you know, I hear that a lot. And through this podcast, I just want to convince people that that's not the case.
It's not the case.
I'm actually a decent human being. And that's what decent human beings do. Try to convince other people very eagerly that they're decent human beings.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah.
Great response, by the way.
like, okay. Usually, good people don't have to convince others that they're good. All right, Midhat.
I can see the ratings going down on this part of the episode. Like, I can hear the numbers. I can hear people tuning out. They're hitting the stop button on their podcast right now.
No, you said something that was funny. You're like, I was not the best sales clerk at the gas station.
Yes.
And I used to work in the food service industry, and I was a shit server. Like, I was great. I had a lot of regulars, but they would come back to see me because I would talk to them and I would listen to them, and I was like, I was
not
giving them
surprised at all.
therapy. And like, they would be like, we can just open up to her. Like, we want her to serve you food and get out. And so they're like, I don't know how you do it, Val. Like, they keep coming back, but you're a shitty server. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Like,
they should be happy about that. Just the fact that you're getting repeat customers
for my
because of you.
presence, and like they just come to see me. Oh,
You should be thankful about that.
But like, can you sell food faster? Or like, I would forget things. Like, I would forget their drinks, but like, it's okay. And they would just felt so understood. Like, I didn't even care about the drink. Oh, my own managers are like, they're not laughing. They brought a lot of free cake. I'm like, I'm gonna tell them that it's your birthday, and I bring you free cake. They're like, wow, this is great, sweetie. And we just sit there. So
what did you learn about people by being a server? Because you're exposed to a steady stream of people coming in every day.
Yeah.
So like, what did you learn about people in that job?
I think what I learned is that money just amplifies your personality. So I think if you are a good person and you have money, like that'll shine through. But if you are an asshole and you have money, that'll also shine through. Because I remember I had people like snap their fingers at me, or I had people like think like kind of like, oh, like you're the help, like I'm here, and I think I saw both ends of that, and I got treated with both ends of that. And also like you're stripped of like, it doesn't matter if you got your degree or you're working on your degree or how smart you are, like you're just a server. And so you really get to see how people treat just a server. And so it kind of like exposed me to like, oh, okay, I think I love my friends, and I'm also very selective of my friend process, because I'm like, just because you're my friend and you treat me well, how do you treat the server though?
That's right.
And so like that's kind of how I like base like my friendships. It's like how you treat the server.
Yeah. That's such a poignant point right there, where like money kind of amplifies what the person is. The money doesn't change people; it just actually shows who you really are. So,
well,
I'm glad I'm not at that point yet.
that's funny.
There's nothing to amplify there.
Okay. But yeah, just I don't regret any of my experiences. I love everything that I've done and everything that I've been through, because it's shown me something. I've learned something, or learned something about someone, or I've made a lot of connections that way, or I loved it. I love the food. Like that's like behind the scenes stuff. I learned how to make some gourmet stuff in the kitchen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Did somebody ever say like Gordon Ramsay style? No, you donkey! This is dry. What is this?
Sometimes at Expo, because it is gourmet food, like we have to have a good exposition. Like it needs to look beautiful. So sometimes like, what the fuck is this? But then whenever you send food back to the kitchen, we can't put it out. Like, we'll just eat it. So I was like, that's my meal now.
I'm gonna enjoy these dry scallops now. I apologize. My Gordon Ramsay turned Scottish for some reason.
Wow.
The podcast ended without an outro?
Stop. Okay. Well, let me see. Midhat I'm trying to figure out what happened. I think I stopped the recording and now it's saving changes, so I don't know what it's gonna save. But you guys,
some excellent content just got lost.
Content. Maybe we got 2 mics on those cameras.
Great conversation about Gordon Ramsay.
Regardless of whether or not these mics failed, there's mics on those cameras. And
so you can still splice in the audio from this, right? Like, and even if that stopped recording.
And no, it kept it. So it did record for 24 minutes, but it's not recording this now.
Okay.
Yeah. But those were our deep naked thoughts, you guys.
That's right.
That's right.
They were deep and
close.
Slightly close.
They were close. Yeah.
There were some great thoughts, I believe.
Some great thoughts were developed in this. Yes.
Yes.
Quality.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
And share.
Send us feedback.
Ha ha ha.
You don't send us a comment because we don't have the technology yet, but write us a letter. Put it in the U.S. mail and then send it to us. And those are the letters we read because that shows effort on your part.
See, what he's trying to say is that he wants fan mail.
Send us fan mail. And if you put some extra dollars in there, not a problem. No, I'm not going to have an issue with that. And we just want to amplify what we really are like. Because I don't know, so please send us money so that I get a lot of money and I just figure out who I really am.
We're running an experiment, it's data collection. You're like, see, Val says that money shows who you really are. So